For this plot, it was actually won at 1388 PSF per plot ratio, which is actually a record for OCR because it's the highest land bid to what we know for the entire outskirts of Singapore.
Yes.
At the point in time, people were thinking, wow, this is such a crazy price.
And when you add 10,000 homes, of course the 10,000 homes will also be subject to the car-like planning, including the HDBs. To be frank, I think this is going to end up traction. Hi guys! So we have a very exciting launch upcoming. In fact, this is probably the launch that many Eastsiders have been waiting for, and that is Vela Bay, which is projected to launch on the 11th of April. Jolene, what do you think about the name of Vela Bay? Quite unexpected, right?
Yes, for the project right at Bayshore MRT, I think initially we were expecting something like Bayshore Residence or something like Grand Bayshore because the developer named previous project Grand Diamond, right?
When Vela Bay came out, probably, we don't even know what Vela Bay is. But I think this is not so important. I think what we're going to go through today, deep dive into the price analysis, because this is actually a record land bid in the OCR. Yeah, it's going to be the first project launching in the Bayshore area, probably, I think, the last 20 years.
Yes,
so,
more than 20 years.
Yeah, more than 20 years. So this is something that a lot of people are looking out for.
Yeah, especially if you're an East Side lover, I think there's a lot of pent-up demand in this area. So definitely we'll see a very good response for the launch. Don't forget to click the like and share button if you found our video interesting, and do remember to subscribe as well for more updates.
What we're going to go through today, usually we run through in a more like why you should buy Bayshore, why you shouldn't buy Bayshore, but we will explain a lot of the potential plus points and potential negative points as we go along these 4 pointers. So first, we'll actually be talking about Vela Bay and how it links with the entire East Coast plan. Next, we'll also go through, since we have some of the information recently came, the quick fire facts about the project. Yeah, then we'll actually talk about the price, because this was actually a record land bid in the OCR. We'll examine whether this high land bid would necessarily mean that it's overpriced project. And last, we'll go through, compare the different layouts between Vela Bay and also the surrounding resale projects, especially since Vela Bay is harmonized development versus the rest which are non-harmonized.
Talking about location, I think this is a project that you cannot miss, because once you drive along like the ECP, definitely when you turn into exit 6, definitely once you turn in, you'll see Vela Bay, and then the other side is Costa del Sol, which is a very iconic project in Bayshore as well. I think now even when you drive past, you cannot miss a lot of the signages there, and also the construction being ongoing.
Vela Bay is actually part of the bigger Bayshore transformation. So in the entire portion over here, previously, if I'm not mistaken, was empty forested land.
Yes.
Yeah, so now they made a lot of residents unhappy because now they chopped down all the forests. They're building this entire district as a new residential estate. Vela Bay will actually be the first private residential to preview in the entire new area. I think this is really exciting point.
Yep. There's a total of 32 hectares of land being taken down, just for your info. It's a huge site.
Yeah, in the future, Vela Bay will be right outside, in fact, Bayshore MRT's exit 1. I think if you have taken the Thomson East Coast line recently, you know exactly how convenient it is. It actually takes you to the more central part of the East Coast side, towards the Tanjung Katong side, and then eventually takes you to even closer to Gardens by the Bay, then
Orchard.
Directly towards Orchard and the CBD.
Yeah, and you can go all the way to Woodlands. And then the other part, I think towards the Bedok South and Terminal 5, that is due for completion towards the second half of this year. So it will link you all the way to the airport also in the future.
If I'm not mistaken, also to the Terminal 5 directly as well. So that will be quite a game changer in the area. So we'll touch a bit more about the other good pointers of the location in our later slides. I think people always say east side, best side. What we have here is done a collage of all it's basically an east sider starter pack. People love the east for, of course, the East Coast Park area, the food. All these are all icons of the east, especially
the lifestyle.
Yeah, having Jewel nearby as well, within just a short drive down ECP. Very big plus point for a lot of people staying in this area. Now we'll talk a bit about how Vela Bay actually links up with the entire planning of this new Bayshore district. I think this came out on CNA. So of course, when we see this is actually part of the new Bedok town, the whole Bayshore estate. Mentioned earlier, they're going to launch around 10,000 homes, of which 7,000 will be public housing, 3,000 will be private housing. And Vela Bay, as mentioned, is the first to preview in this entire area. So I think when you see this whole entire map that we have over here, there are a few things that are very promising. In fact, the first would be this one that you can't miss. It's actually the integrated transport hub. That will be right beside, or rather integrated with Bedok South MRT in the future.
Yeah, so it's just one stop from Bayshore MRT. It will have a full-fledged mall, and integrated transport hub will also come with the
bus interchange
that's fully air-conditioned, and also the MRT.
Then upcoming, there will also be a SAFRA, the biggest SAFRA in the entire of Singapore, projected. And then, of course, all these other orange parts are all, or beige parts are all future residential plots.
Yes.
Yeah, and as it is, there are already 2 upcoming BTOs that are already confirmed in this area. Of course, they're also planning lots of park spaces in this vicinity as well.
The park connectors, yes.
Yeah, one thing that we see over here is that the first word that you see here is a new car-like town. this was a bit controversial lah.
We'll talk about this later on in terms of how it may impact the project potentially.
This car light planning is actually a very new concept. They only have it recently in Tengah area. Because Tengah is also planned as a new smart town and a car light zone.
We are here to see the impact of this car light zone in the resale market.
Okay. For the HDBs that are launching in this area, I think many people would know that HDB has recently done different classifications for all their new BTO projects. For the HDB projects in the Bayshore area specifically, they are classified under HDB Plus.
For that, minimally, the owners have to stay for 10 years before they can even sell the house. And during this 10 years, they cannot rent out the entire flat. They can potentially rent out the rooms, but cannot rent out the whole flat. I think for them, if you're talking about in the future, your resale buyers that are coming into the market, potentially upgraders within the vicinity, minimally they have to wait another 4 years of construction.
I think 15 years in total.
14 to 15 years in total, including the construction time, before they can actually sell to move on. And if they really, I guess, if they want to buy into this location, they really love this place, so they could be your potential buyers in the future when you choose to offload.
Yeah, so Jolene, do you think that in this area we'll finally see HDBs cross $2 million?
I'm not surprised. I mean, if you look at the recent Queenstown, 5-room already crossed 1.7. Even Punggol has crossed 1.3 million.
Yeah, 1.48 million for the 5-room loft actually. Yeah, so that's the prices for Punggol already. Bayshore, we can all agree, is a very prime area, even though it's classified in OCR. So we'll see.
I think 10-15 years could be even 2.5, maybe even 3 million. Who knows?
Yeah, scary thought, but we shall see. In terms of the planning area, so we further mentioned just now the future integrated transport hub. And you can see how big it is actually. It's 22,500 square meters of commercial space. That's around 240,000 square feet of space in square feet. So we'll touch on how you can compare it in the next slide. But as mentioned, we also have the Singapore's largest SAFRA, over 30 square meters, and then future health and medical areas in this area as well. They're really planning the entire space over here. I mean, generally in the whole Bayshore area, it's all been private residential. So there hasn't been really many, common amenities like a big shopping mall, like coffee shops all around the corner in the HDB estate. So finally, it's a good and bad thing. Probably more crowd in this area, but also more amenities, which I think would be overall a plus point.
Yeah, I think even for the BTOs, those are going to be, we already seen from the recent BTO launches in Bayshore, they've been heavily oversubscribed because you're talking about those sea-fronting flats. If you want to go somewhere not too far away, or maybe, I'm not sure in other parts of Singapore, but in this part of Singapore, you probably look at like Marine Parade, Marine Terrace, and those are very, very old flats. Yeah.
But still selling very well.
Still selling very well, yes. So definitely, this is a huge draw in the future.
Just how big is the future integrated transport hub going to be? So around 240,000 square feet of commercial space. These are just some malls that have TOP'd quite recently in the last 3 to 10 years even. I think the most comparable one would be probably Hillian Mall. So if you've been to Hillian Mall, it's definitely, you won't call it a small mall at all. Yeah, 240,000 square feet, at least 3 levels. All the anchor tenants usually like the supermarkets, the childcare centre, so on and so forth. I think this is something really positive that the future Bayshore estate can expect.
I think traditionally, even at Bayshore area, we don't have that much amenities. If people want to go, they probably will head towards Bedok area or even Siglap area. Even without these amenities, it's already a very popular township. So can you imagine having a mall in the future? This will definitely really spruce up the location even further. Yeah,
for sure. I think we cannot not talk about Vela Bay and not talk about the views because this would be the key selling point. Fair to say, right?
Yes, for sure.
The good thing is some of the artist impressions have came out for Vela Bay. So this is actually how they imagine the building to be, and of course this will be the classic sea views that the East Side lovers really treasure, right? So of course beside is Costa del Sol lah.
And I think the good thing is the way they have planned the two buildings. Majority of the units are actually tilted to face towards the sea, so you'll get some sort of sea view. And then if you're not facing the sea, it's towards the unblocked landed side. Either ways, you're actually getting very good views.
Yeah, in this image here, actually we have some projections of the views. In fact, this project, in terms of the site plan, right? So there will be both the southwest views that are oriented towards this way. Definitely you'll be getting some slight angle of afternoon sun. This is also like sunset view lah.
Yeah, but you get the city view towards MBS, that direction.
Then the other section of units will have the southeastern view. This is something that will be having sea view but partial morning sun.
Yeah, you see sometimes the aeroplane fly past. Also quite nice. Yeah.
Actually, what we have here on the right hand side, this image that we have here was actually taken from Costa del Sol. This will be actually a depiction of how the kind of view that you enjoy if you do stay in Vela Bay. The north facing, of course, would be more towards having partial landed views or the private residential views in the north side.
Yes.
Pretty decent as well.
Yeah, I think because for the landed, it's also pretty much permanently unblocked. You do get a very permanent view lah. So either ways, I don't think you'll lose out. about?
This one, also one of the things that many people have asked us.
Yes.
So what do you think, Jolene?
Well, I think that for this Long Island plan, it's been a making for some time, and there's not much concrete information on when will it exactly be executed and when will it actually happen. So I think it's still quite a long runway towards when it will exactly happen.
In fact, we did some AI overview, right? AI kind of summarized this for us. They say that actually the planning is actually happening obviously now, but of course the planning would be over the next probably 5 years or so.
Yep.
And this is a massive project. This is land reclamation. Then you have to decide what to do on the reclaimed land. This is not a short-term project. In fact, the Greater Southern Waterfront, it's been talked about for 15 to 20 years and it's still not moved. So in fact, probably we can expect maybe construction for this development or this transformation to start maybe earliest is also 2030s, 2035 thereabouts. And for them to reclaim all the land, build things, eventually we might actually see something physical there, maybe from 2045 to 2050 onwards.
Yeah, so I think if you're worried about your views being blocked if you're facing towards the sea, I think potentially you can still enjoy the sea view for at least a good maybe 10 to 15 years, if not 20 over years or more.
Yep.
Yeah, so I don't think it's an immediate concern as of now.
Yeah, and also not guaranteed what they will do there. And then it could also be low rise. You could still be having most of your views or even just mostly partial views.
Yeah, we also don't know what they're going to do with it.
So this one, I wouldn't worry too much about it, to be frank.
But we still want to address this, yes.
Yeah. So now we'll actually run through some of the quick project facts. Of course, as mentioned, this project located right next to Bayshore is 515 units altogether. And as mentioned, the land size, this is also around a 10,000 square meter land plot. Around 125,000 square feet thereabouts, plus minus. So I would say not the biggest plot, let's say we compare to like Bayshore Park or the Bayshore even, or Costa del Sol. But this is still a decent size for a condominium project. In terms of the car park lot, this one is the one that's a bit controversial. So for the 515 units, there's only going to be 258 car park lots, which aligns with the 50% car park ratio and the car light planning area.
Yep.
That is going to be, I'll say, people staying in this vicinity. A lot of them will be families.
Yes, for own stay.
For own stay. So this might pose some objections in the future in the resale market, but to be frank, we're also not sure of the full impact because this has not been tried and tested in the market yet. I will touch on that a bit later, but we also have the unit mix. So the units actually start from 1 plus study until 5 bedroom, and these are the estimated sizes that we have.
Yeah, so the 4 and 5 bedrooms, we have units that have private lift. So I think this one Ollie just mentioned earlier. Apparently, according to Straits Times, 1/3 of the Singapore resident households now own car, which is down from 40%, which is like a decade ago. So apparently they are saying that there's been a reduction in number of cars on the roads. But actually, do you feel that impact, Ollie?
Singapore's still very jammed. Yeah, especially during peak hour. And Bayshore area is, as of now, I wouldn't say it's not a jam area, right? During peak hour.
Yes, we would definitely, we just throwing in our honest views and what we experience.
Yeah, and then when you add 10,000 homes, of course the 10,000 homes will also be subject to the car light planning, including the HDBs. To be frank, I think this is going to be an objection for people who definitely need the use of a car. In the resale market, we will have to see how Vela Bay pans out because, as mentioned, this is a truly new concept that has been introduced in the market.
I think with the recent wars and things going on, fuel prices have been going up quite a bit. They have escalated. So maybe not having a car could potentially be a good thing.
Yeah.
Or maybe people can move towards renting cars. Not sure. Yeah, there could be other options. Let's see how this pan out. But regardless, I don't think this is a huge objection. People who really, really want to move into this location, you want to have the first mover advantage, I think you ultimately still choose Vela Bay because regardless, the subsequent pieces of land, they will be subject to this highlight area restriction. Definitely they'll be further from the MRT and they'll be more expensive as well.
For sure.
Yep.
As for the developer, so when this land plot was bid, this was a very fierce bid, by the way. We'll touch on that later. But of course, Singhai won this plot. So many people were probably wanting, the usual big developers like CDL, UOL, so on and so forth to win this land. But Singhai has this habit of winning very good land plots. In fact, they won
Park Clementes,
very big land plot in Clementi, and also Grand Diamond.
Yep.
Yeah, the plot right next to Dakota MRT. People's concern is that Singhai, maybe there have been, in the past, there have been some issues with construction. Very long ago, if I'm not mistaken, it's Central 8. DBSS in Pasir Ris. Of course, but DBSS was a very controversial concept to begin with.
Yes.
It wasn't easy for them to manage. But if we take a look at BCA's grading, so what they have is this thing called a concuss banding. So they are actually in band 1. Together they're around, I think, 6 bands. Band 1 is the best.
Same banding as CDL apparently.
They're in the same band as CDL. So actually, from BCA's standpoint, the construction quality is decent. And I think we have some owners who stay in Park Clementes. So far, so good.
Yes, I mean, you have clients who really enjoy the facilities, the amenities, and so far no complaints regarding the quality of the finishing. So I think,
So next up, we have the site plan. with some more information released, right? So I think we can see firsthand developers' intention in making sure that most of the units here have a sea view. In fact, more than 70% of the units here will be having some sort of sea view in itself. So as mentioned, this will be more towards the southwest facing.
Yep.
And this is more towards the southeast facing. As mentioned, not say the biggest plot, right? Yeah.
Yes. In terms of facilities, we are quite like we have most of the things that we need lah. Yeah, we have like the main pool, the tennis court, the barbecue pits, the gyms.
Yeah, in fact, this is like more specific planning, the way it's planned. So we actually have the tennis court right over here. I think for a project in this area, it's important to have a tennis court lah, because the likes of the Bayshore, in fact, have 4 tennis courts.
Yes.
Yeah, Bayshore Park also has more than 1 tennis court. So in fact, they put 1 tennis court here. We also have a lap pool on this section here, and we have all the facilities that typical development would enjoy lah. In fact, some developments now don't even have tennis court. Yeah, we have Amber Park, which is a very prime plot in Katong. They also don't have a tennis court, but they still fare well in the end. So not the biggest deal breaker, but at least we still have one. And as mentioned, this is the orientation of the sea views. When we have more of the drone views that come out later on, we can actually show you more of the more accurate depiction of the views. So now we're going to be talking a bit about the price. This one also very controversial.
I think just now Ollie mentioned that Singhai actually won the plot. During this period, actually the bids were very competitive, and there were a total of 8 bidders for this plot. So you can see how highly sought after this plot was back then. And I think given the results, the upcoming plots, likely if the market remains the same or better, then potentially you could see similar results lah. For this plot, it was actually won at 1388 PSF per plot ratio, which is actually a record for OCR because it's the highest land bid to what we know for the entire outskirts of Singapore.
Yes.
At the point in time, people were thinking, wow, this is such a crazy price. Like, who will actually buy in the future, right?
Yep. This particular plot, right, had 8 bidders, and you can see all the big developers all wanted a piece of this. We have CDL, we have Frasers, Kingsford, Hoi Hub, Simlian even. So, and all the top 3 bids were all above 1,300 per square foot, and the difference between the winning bid and the second highest is only 1%. So that's how close it is lah. Mentioned, the top bid was 1,388 per square foot per plot ratio, highest in the OCR region. So their break even actually works out to be 2,528 per square foot per plot ratio. This is how it's like with around 10 to 20% profit margin estimated lah.
Yeah, so a lot of people have been asking like, oh, what's the potential launch price of this development? I think it's safe to quote something like 2,008 to 3,000. Do not be surprised. I think ultimately you have to look in terms of the value and also the kind of quantum that we are looking at after GFA harmonization is taken into account.
If we compare this land bid with all the other OCR land bids in Singapore that happened in the last year, we can see that Vela Bay at 1,388 per square foot per plot ratio. This is how it compares with the likes of Chuan Grove and also Bedok Rise. Yeah, we talk about Chuan Grove first lah. So basically, Chuan Grove recently had also Chuan Park launch.
Yep.
These are going to be 2 more projects in this area. I think if you ask anyone whether they feel Vela Bay is really in OCR, do you think that is a fair thing to say? Although technically in OCR, but is it really the same as Lorong Chuan? Because Yishun is also in OCR, right? Or even Jurong.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
I think different people will argue differently because for Chuan Grove, it's also relatively close to Serangoon and Bishan.
Yep.
So although it's also OCR, but people do see that it's actually quite city fringe or central-like. And then for Vela Bay, in Bayshore, if you're talking about Singapore, if you look at the map, right, the central part is actually towards the southern part of the island.
Yep.
And Vela Bay, we're actually in the southeastern part. So actually, if you drive to town and even towards airport, it's pretty much, you can get to town quite quickly lah. So although we are in OCR, I still say we are relatively a very central part of OCR. I don't know how you translate
and I think
that.
when people who stay in, like, for example, Mandarin Gardens or Costa del Sol, they will always say that they stay in East Coast.
Yes.
It's just those 2 words, East Coast. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is, of course, the Upper East Coast, but many people will also argue that this area is somewhere they prefer along the East Coast side because this is more residential, less cluttered compared to like Katong area, for example.
Yeah, correct. If you look at the whole Bayshore area, currently we only have that 3 big developments, which are Bayshore Park, the Bayshore, and Costa del Sol. And those are really, really much older projects.
Definitely.
If you're talking about this area, there's also, I wouldn't say you have a lot of choices, but of course those are huge projects lah, but they are also much older.
Yeah. So in effect, right, so Chuan Grove also a bit in a similar price point. So next time, Chuan Grove will also be priced probably minimally around the same as Vela Bay. If we're talking about if they sell at the same margins. I think the one that really takes the cake is the land plot at Bedok Rise. This is the plot opposite Tanah Merah.
Yes.
Right over here. So the land price was bid at 1,330 per square foot. This is lumped together with all the other projects like the Glades,
Grandeur Park,
so on and so forth. What do you think in terms of the price? This price is basically, this area is going to be same price as Vela Bay in the future.
If you really compare, I've always been an East Sider lah. So if you ask me to choose, I will definitely choose Vela Bay over Tanah Merah. I'm not saying Tanah Merah is bad, but this is just what it is. The land prices just keep going higher and higher. So if you're not buying this today, or let's say can't enter for whatever reason, and you only decide to buy next year, this is the kind of price that you're going to be paying for Tanah Merah. So it's just a matter of market acceptance over time.
I think what we really want to do is compare Vela Bay with the immediate vicinity. Right? I think this is more meaningful. It's mentioned Vela Bay right over here by Bayshore, when you exit Bayshore Road. Estimated probably TOP by around 2030 plus minus, depending on how fast they construct. Then we also have, beside it is Costa del Sol, which TOP in 2004.
Yeah.
So you can see this is really the last launch in this area in the last 25 years.
26 years, yeah.
Then of course we had Seaside Residence. This one is not in Bayshore, but it's more towards Siglap. But all these three projects have something in common. They're basically all along the ECP. They're all seafront facing.
And they are also relatively near to the respective MRT station on the Thomson East Coast Line.
Exactly. So if we dive deeper, I think, Jolene, you do many units around East Side, right?
Yes.
Yeah. This is very, very good profitability.
Yes, yeah, it's crazy because if you look at Costa del Sol, people will say, oh, it's such an old project, like things like that. But then if you look at the transactions, can you see the amount of profits that people actually make? I mean, during COVID, if I'm not wrong, they were transacting around 1,007, maybe even 1,008 per square foot.
Yep.
And then we were saying, oh wow, that's such crazy price, right? But look at today, it's already crossed 2,000, 2,001 per square foot even.
Yep. And profit is like up to the 1.9 million mark.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Yeah. Seaside also shows a similar trend. So this is the newer project in this area, of course. But you can see even the 4 and 3 bedders have already got profits of 900K to 1.2 million.
Yeah, in the span of even like 7-8 years, I guess.
Quite a short time in relative terms.
Yeah, very healthy profits.
The first thing we can do is actually compare on per square foot basis for the three projects. So for Vela Bay, as with the land cost and the break-even price, I think we can use 2,800 to 3,100 per square foot as a basis of prediction. But don't be surprised to see very high floor sea view, potentially hitting 3,002, 3,003.
Yes.
Yeah, something we cannot rule out. But we're just talking about averages here. If we compare this with Seaside Residences, you can see the range is like from 2,200 average, the highest being 2,700 per square foot. We also need to add harmonization because these projects are not harmonized. So if we add around 7%, they've effectively transacted as high as 2,889 per square foot.
Yeah, that's not too far off from the likely launch price of Vela Bay. And definitely, if you are talking about the TOP, that's a 9 years difference.
Yep.
So it will be 9 years newer compared to like Seaside.
Now, of course, we have Costa del Sol. Of course, this is an older project, so definitely per square foot is going to be on the lower side. But let's say we add their highest per square foot at 2,117 in the last 1 to 2 years, and we add a 7% harmonization difference, is at 2,265 PSF.
And I think because of the sheer size of Costa del Sol, it's not necessarily cheap. Later we can show you some of the floor plans.
Yep. Just on per square foot basis, if we compare with Costa del Sol, actually, of course, Vela Bay is going to look very expensive. But now we're going to look at it from quantum basis.
We have the 2-bedroom transacted as well. So if we compare Costa del Sol versus Seaside and Vela Bay, the recent 2-bedroom transactions at Costa del Sol is around 1.68 million. And then for Seaside, it's already 2.06 million.
Yep.
Yeah. Based on the projected PSF for Vela Bay, we can expect something like about 1.93 to 2.14 million for the 2 bedrooms.
Yep.
So actually, it's not too far off from what people have paid for Seaside.
Actually, we already have the actual sizing for the 2-bed, 2-bath, which is already 689 square feet. The floor plan was already released. So I think this is a range that you can expect to pay for the 2-bed, 2-bath. So then we have 3-bedroom. For 3 bedrooms, if we take a look at Costa del Sol, right? In fact, their 1,313 square feet layout has already transacted for on a 2.78 million on a quantum basis. And this is already a more than 20-year-old project. If we look at Seaside Residence, right? People really love the sea view. This is very obvious. So you can see the 3-bedder, 1,259 square feet, right? It's already transacted to 3.4 million, 2,700 PSF.
Yep.
Yeah. If we compare with the smaller 3-bedder layout at 1,087, they've already transacted around 2.838 million. So these are the transacted quantums on Seaside and Costa del Sol. So how do we compare with Vela Bay then? Right.
Yeah. So for the 3-bedroom at Vela Bay, it will be 1033 square feet for the bigger 3-bedroom. So we're expecting prices to range around 2.9 to 3.2 million. So if you compare that, it's actually cheaper than the 3-bedroom at Seaside. And also relatively just slightly more than what you're paying for Costa del Sol, but you're getting something that is brand new.
Yep.
And then for the smaller 3-bedroom at 947 square feet, we're expecting around 2.66 to 2.94 million, which is also cheaper than Seaside. So you're getting something that is much newer and also at a more affordable quantum.
Yeah, of course, this 947 square feet is not confirmed yet, but they are likely going to have a more compact size. So it's possible that you're going to pay a higher per square foot for Vela Bay, but on a quantum basis, you could be buying a 3-bedder cheaper than your neighbors even that are older. So that's where the true attractiveness comes from, from a purchase price perspective.
Ollie, I have clients who are very long-term, like east side, like hardcore east side people.
Okay.
And then they own like big freehold units, like 3 bedrooms, for example. And then, of course, because of the size and the freehold status, the quantum is much higher. So they're asking me, why my old freehold takes so long to sell? But all these new launches are selling left, right, center, and they're 99 years, and they're so tiny.
Yes.
But I guess it's just the demographic of the people these days, the shift towards, I think for younger family types, and also in terms of like maybe for investment value or people right-sizing from their previous homes and things like that. People are just firstly a sucker for location, and they really like the convenience, so they really don't mind paying for 99 years if it's right at the MRT station, which we have seen from so many launches. And I think for the size wise, like I mentioned, because of the change in demographic, people don't mind smaller units because family sizes are also shrinking, right?
Yeah, and it's also more affordable.
Yes.
Yeah, so having to pay like 3.5 million for a 3-bedroom in, say, one Amber or Alto.
Yeah.
Maybe some people are just thinking twice about spending so much when they can already buy a 3-bedder at 2.6 to 2.8 million potentially.
That's right.
And then if we see the 4-bedder comparison, so Costa del Sol transacts around 3.41 million for the latest transaction. Of course, it's a huge floor plate, 1755 square feet. So, but we know that this is the quantum they are able to reach. For Seaside, the 1733 square feet layout transacted for 4.4 million. That was in just November last year. And of course, for Vela Bay, let's just say we have 1292 square feet as a prediction. We could potentially see, based on 28 to 31 per square foot, the quantum going from 3.6 to slightly over 4 mil. Yeah. For a quantum basis, actually, it looks really good for a 4-bedder to own a 4-bedder in this area.
Yeah. I mean, of course, there will still be people who prefer like the older unit types. For example, at Costa del Sol. But then if you're comparing to relatively newer Vela Bay versus Seaside, of course you can argue that Seaside is a bit closer to town. But at this kind of price point, potentially people may even swap Seaside for Vela Bay.
Yeah, because Vela Bay is also going to TOP in 2030. So it'll be a brand new project in 2030. Seaside will probably have been around close to 10 years old already.
Yes, that's right. Okay. So now we'll take a look at the layout comparison. We will take the Bayshore and Costa del Sol to compare with, because I think these are the relatively closer in terms of proximity to Vela Bay. And I think for Bayshore Park is a much older development and we don't want to have too many comparisons. So we'll just take 2 of these to compare.
So first we have the Bayshore. So I think those people who want to buy like a lower entry price in this area, this is probably the first project they'll look at when they look into the Bayshore area. Yeah. So this 926 square feet layout, there are different variations with balcony, without balcony. But I think the key description of this layout, right, is that it's trapezium shaped. Angular. When you see the layout, right, you can actually see the shape is a little irregular. Some people might find it, right?
It is, especially for the common bedroom, it's quite obvious. And I think the slightly good thing is that they have that utility room which functions as an extra storeroom. Or for some people, they actually have a helper and they need somewhere their helper can stay in.
But I think overall, not irregular layout. So some people, feng shui purpose also, some people might find it not so suitable. Costa del Sol, on the other hand, 947 square feet is a very good size for a 2-bedroom, in fact. And if we see their layout here, right, it's very, very squarish.
Very comfortable. I mean, you look at the living and dining space, almost 37 square meter.
Yep.
And a very long, proper kitchen, enclosed, and even have a yard.
Bedroom sizes also look good.
Yes. Even common room is like almost 12 square meter.
Exactly. So these 2 projects are actually not harmonized. So there are, of course, things like the aircon ledges, all these are all part of the square footage of the square feet, total square feet itself. But altogether, all Costa del Sol's layout actually is pretty good.
Don't have a balcony, so in terms of wasted space, there's also not much. Then you still get most of the units, they're seafronting, you get the sea view for sure. Yeah.
So not hard to see why Costa del Sol is still popular in the resale market. Vela Bay is harmonized, so their 2-bed, 2-bath is at 689 square feet. Very typical classic layout for today's market, the dumbbell shape.
Yes. I don't think there's much to comment. I think even the common bedrooms, they have 2 doors, so you can enter from the living area and also the bedrooms. And potentially, if people are looking for investment, they can also rent separately. And I think they can do a little bit better for the kitchen. Yeah. Potentially, they can make it enclosable even.
Yeah, I think other developers for 2-bed plus studies or 2-bedroom, 2-baths, right, they've managed to actually have an enclosable kitchen with a glass panel overlooking the living dining. Probably this is something they could have done better, but
I guess they leave it open also. I guess you can have the option to install as such as to fit your needs. So
we'll look at the 3-bedder. So the Bayshore's 3-bedder also looks like it follows the same pattern. 1184 square feet plus minus thereabouts. It's the same trapezium angular shape. The resale market, this is something that probably is holding back from it appreciating as much as, say, Costa del Sol, because they're only actually 5 years apart. If you think about it.
Correct. And for Costa del Sol, I think the layout is still pretty good, similar to the 2-bedroom. You see very comfortable bedroom sizes, and they even have like a family area. I guess it's useful if you have kids or you want to put a piano or something.
Yep.
And then they have proper yard and utility in their kitchen. So I think overall a very functional layout. Again, the bedroom sizes are very decent in today's context. Yeah.
Yeah, then we have Vela Bay. So this is the 1033 square feet layout. It's actually the actual layout, which is probably the show flat layout. This is a very classic, good layout in today's market.
Yeah.
So this is a 3-bedder harmonized. Has an enclosed kitchen with windows. It has the yard, bomb shelter for storage, and the 3rd bath. 3 good bedroom sizes eventually.
Yeah.
So I think there's really nothing much to complain about this layout.
Yeah, actually, it's pretty good. I mean, 1033 is without the aircon ledges, so potentially it is even bigger if you add in the aircon ledges.
That's right.
I think you can't complain. You have like everything that you need in a 3-bedroom.
Of course, 4-bedders, I think it just follows the same pattern. Bayshore having angular layout. Costa del Sol pre-harmonized, but it's still having a very decent squarish layout, good size bedrooms, good size living rooms. Vela Bay, we don't have the 4-bedder layouts yet, but what we have here is the 5-bedder layout. There's also going to be the show flat layout. These are the classic good sizes. Decent. This one also comes with a private lift. Private lift with the secondary entrance here, junior master at the side, and then we have all the other bedrooms on the other side of house.
I think even if the living and dining is like a bit like portrait, but it's actually quite
wide as well.
Quite wide as well. So like the kitchen size is very decent also with the dry and the wet that links to the yard. So I think there's not much to complain about also.
Yeah, I think now with harmonization, now the layouts are a bit more predictable in a good way. So developers now really have to maximize the square footage purely for usable space. And that's why now you see all the layouts generally, we don't have any nonsense like awkward planter boxes and all these anymore. Very efficient layouts as a whole.
Yeah, the balcony is not like oversized as well.
Yeah.
So very decent.
Yeah, this comes to the end of our quick review of the project. So we've actually covered stuff like the whole transformation of Vela Bay, the pricing as well, and also some of the layouts that have come out.
So if you're interested, do feel free to reach out to us. The launch is happening soon and you definitely don't want to miss it because we're pretty sure that there won't be much left over after the launch day.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be one of those launches that, because River Modern already sold 90%.
Yes.
Vela Bay is probably going to be selling as well or even better. Thanks for watching the video. Do remember to like and subscribe. See you for the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.